Welcome back to OPA Podcast, episode 68. Today we are recapping Northwestern and previewing Louisiana Lafayette, the Ragin Cajuns. But joined today on this very sad post-game show is one of your hosts, Soup.
You guys made Jason physically sick, Gophers. I'm talking to you. You guys made Jason physically sick. It is your fault.
Hey, Griffin.
Yep, that's me, Griffin.
And Wyatt.
I am also here.
And your producer, who's also back from Japan. I miss Japan. Jason O. I will say this. If I leave out of the country again, Gophers lose every time. But I'm going to have the rest of the guys take over to save my voice and maybe try to get some rest. But the Gophers did lose in overtime 37-34 against Northwestern this past Saturday. Just to recap quick, we did dominate and have control of the game for the first three quarters. And in the fourth quarter, Northwestern, with an interim head coach, made an epic comeback to go into overtime and then to win it 37-34, getting that touchdown in the first round. So
27 unanswered points.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys take the reins from here.
Oh boy. Where to begin? Let Ethan cook? Question mark.
I mean, yeah, Ethan was fine. The offense was like
He was better than fine. It was like his most efficient game as a passer of his career.
Objectively, Ethan was
Good.
impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's never gonna be not this season, be the guy to put up stellar numbers. He's not gonna be like a top 10 or 20 or whatever quarterback in the country this year.
I don't think anyone's asking that of him either.
Nobody's asking that of him. Just do what you did this game. Maybe throw half a dozen more passes.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that's like the offense is not the point of concern after this game, which is insane considering how the season is gone.
Yeah. I guess I can see that. Yeah. I can see saying the offense wasn't really the problem here. I think
like Ethan was 14 of 19 for he should we need to throw the ball a little bit more. I'd like to see him putting up 200 yards in a game, but
we can get to coaching. Yeah, I think
we can get to that. Darius Taylor, another almost 200-yard game. What more can you ask of him?
Three-peat freshman of the week.
What more can you ask of him? We can ask him
legitimately nothing.
If you're PJ, if you're PJ, you want him in anyway when you're up a couple scores to try and run the clock out because you're a risk-averse coach.
True.
So as much as we know we love seeing the 198 yards, he didn't really need to be in for the last, handful of runs.
Yeah, I mean, Griff, I think that's a great point. Like, what happened to Sean Tyler, right? Like, I get it, he had a couple fumbles, but I mean, you can't
just like, even if you don't want to put Sean Tyler in, put in Bryce Williams.
Which they did.
And they used him in the pass game, and that worked out decently well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, since we're talking about the offense, I think, let's just address the elephant in the room here, which is the head coach and just this is the first game, since the Bowling Green loss, and it obviously rings very, very close to it for us, where I think this one is very squarely and obviously on PJ. And I don't think you can really blame anyone else for this one. And not like the hokey, like I'm the head coach, all the responsibility falls on me. No, he pissed this one away.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think that's more than fair to say. I mean, you go up by 21 points going into the fourth quarter.
It's over.
I stopped paying attention. I wasn't at this game. I was like, oh, 21-point lead. I can, go about my day and assume that's pretty safe in the hands of, a Joe Rossi defense and,
Yeah. So Wyatt, you did exactly what PJ did, but PJ was on the field.
Yeah, the thing about that is I don't get paid millions of dollars to, make sure the team is still winning at the end of the fourth quarter. I get paid $0 to come do this podcast and talk about how the team was not winning at the end of the fourth quarter.
Griff, go ahead. I saw you light up for a second.
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just like it felt like he was like in like this Groundhog Day scenario in the fourth quarter where it was like, okay, we can just sit on the ball and run the clock out. There's no way Northwestern puts up 27 unanswered points, right? Boom, touchdown in 3 plays, all passes to the same receiver. Okay, well, we can just sit on the ball and run out the clock because there's no way Northwestern scores 20 unanswered points, right? Boom, explosive play drive, touchdown. They get the ball back. Well, we can just, right? Like, it felt like that he was just like, well, the defense will bail us out. And to me, I don't want to get into this too early because I think there's a longer conversation here on like coaching in general, and I want us to try and get through the game itself first before we start pontificating. But we definitely need to just kind of talk about like PJ's offensive philosophy because I really just think that's why they lost.
I mean, yeah, it certainly, yeah, it's a big problem at this point. I don't even think that, pontificating on that point here is inappropriate because like that's what happened. That's this game.
Yeah.
There's only one quarter in this game that
really mattered.
Is really even worth discussing.
It's the end of the game.
There was some great stuff in the first 3 quarters, but
sure.
Well, in the first half at least.
Well, so let's do that then. First 3 quarters. I think we can very quickly kind of run through what we thought there. I loved how they started. I loved how Ethan opened up, throwing the ball around the yard with confidence. They were efficient. They were pushing the ball down the field pretty easily. There were still some hiccups here and there, but they overcame them. Instead of letting them kill drives, they overcame any hiccups that would like happen. And they didn't go away from it. Like Ethan was like 8 for 8 with 2 touchdowns at halftime, or 9 for 9 with 2 touchdowns at halftime. Like, incredible, great day, And I mean,
good job, young man.
And when it comes to the defense, it was like, wow, that 80-yard touchdown on like the first drive was weird. Let's not do that again. But that was really it. Like the defense was playing, well enough. They weren't really getting much of anything on offense in the first half. And then like even the third quarter, it was like more of the same.
Very quiet.
Yeah.
But like, and then there's the fourth quarter, and that's where, that's where we have to have the discussion.
Yep. And so that's your offense for the third quarter. Your defense for the first 3 quarters, I'll say, like we just said, kind of fine. Like just
balance.
Yeah, like
there is no fourth quarter balance.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, I feel like none of us even want to talk about the rest of the game. We just want to talk about what happened in the fourth quarter. So
well, do you think their drive ends up in the end zone at the end of the game if there isn't a special teams blunder? Because I really want to talk about PJ's coaching, and I don't want to like make this. I don't want to deflect from that at all. But I'm also pissed at special teams because you have to know where you are. I don't care if the end zone is the same color as the field.
Well, let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about what happened for like if you didn't watch the game or you're forgetting whatever. So Mark, first of all, backing up to that, PJ's punting from like the Northwestern 37, which I almost threw my TV out the window because I was just like, like I get punting here.
Classic PJ move.
Yeah, but I get punt like I understand his logic of why he wants to punt there. I get it. And I don't know if you saw this, but there was a quick clip of Rob Wenger and him getting into it on the sideline before this play, before the punt. Because Wenger is probably saying, "No, let Dragon kick this field goal. 55 yards. Psh, let's try it. When better time?" And then the game's over. Then the game's over.
Who thought we'd be agreeing with Rob Wenger?
Yeah, here we are
on this podcast.
No, PJ probably has flashbacks to Iowa where they get the field goal blocked and give up really good field position and then lose. And guess what happens? The same exact thing, but he punts the ball, right? So you punt the ball, and it ends up being like a 17-yard net punt because it bounces. Mark Crawford, great job with the sand wedge, like unreal punt from that distance. Like this is what he was meant to do, is punt from inside the 50, and Quentin Redding just catches it in the end zone. He's there like 3 seconds before the ball even hits the ground. He's there and he's ready for it. And it just bounces over the goal line into his arms. And he looks down and he looks up at Brady Weeks, who's giving him like the LeBron James, J.R. Smith meme. What are you doing? And Griff, field position. Go ahead.
What about it?
Which, you were talking about it before, about, do you think they score and win if that punt is downed correctly?
I don't know what to think anymore, because watching that last drive makes me think it would have ended up in the same result. But I'd like to believe that our defense could have stopped Northwestern. But it seems
98 yards or whatever.
But it's like they were giving up too many chunk plays. The defense seemed to just kind of all the receivers were able to find every soft spot and weak spot in our defense. And this wasn't even like on the last drive. This was, like kind of the second half.
Yeah, the entire second half.
So I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? Maybe it doesn't, but I'd sure expect any team to stop an offense from going 98 yards or whatever down the field.
See, and I agree with you.
And I think it's different play calling probably on both sides.
Exactly.
If you down that ball at the 2 instead of, catching it in the end zone.
No, yeah, completely. Because then you're backed up, right? You want to get some breathing room, so you end up running the ball. You waste it down. Probably end up wasting a timeout in that situation too if you're Northwestern, right? Now it's second and let's say 4 at best, right? Like nice 6-yard run. You're on the 8. Completely. Now you can start opening up the playbook a little more, but you're already down a down, and you still have to go 92 yards, right?
And that last play comes with 2 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one down matters.
Yeah, that's it, and no time, and it would kill a timeout. So, I just like what. To me, it all starts with like the decision to just not go for it on 4th down, and I understand that that's because of Darius Taylor going down, because Darius Taylor was like briefly hurt, and then the trainers pulled him out for that play, and PJ seemed very upset about that, and I'm like, dude, like, what was that? What would that be? Carry number like 33, 34 for this kid?
I think he had 31
carries.
Yeah, put Cole Kramer in there with Sean Tyler and run the freaking Wildcat. You can get what was it, 4th and 2? What was it? I don't know. It was short. It was under 5. And it was just like, go for it or kick the field goal. Why in the world are we punting? Because I know his thing in his head is like, well, if we kick and it gets blocked, then the field position's really bad. Okay, but what if you punt the ball into the end zone, PJ? What about then? Right?
Then the field position is not really better. And
it's 15 yards different at that point, which is nothing.
And it's the same momentum swing.
He doesn't believe in momentum.
And that's just...
Which, PJ, go watch this game again if you don't believe in momentum.
football is, momentum matters in a football game.
I'd say
It's real.
mentality matters, and momentum comes from like stringing good plays together, getting in rhythm, and that's what they were doing. Like to me, when I think of momentum in football, it's like the mentality of having success and being able to repeat it.
It also gives
Like,
both sides of the ball the confidence you need to keep going.
Yeah. And I know that they wanted to run the play on fourth down too, because I mean they stood out there and looked at the sideline like, we're going for this, right? You know? And I'm just like, I want to touch on the defense before I really dig into PJ. So let's talk about Joe Rossi. Now, this is probably the worst game their unit has had under him, I would say.
yeah.
Maybe 2020.
Sure. But I mean, like, this is a complete, like, debacle, right? Like, this is a complete and total, the bottom
Just an
comes
absolute
out.
collapse.
Yeah, exact. Perfect word. And, going back and watching it again, I don't really think it had anything to do with him, which is, like, the most aggravating part, I'm sure, for him, too. Is that, like, he did a pretty good job of like calling the defense. Like there's a lot of opportunities for guys out there. Like Maverick Baranowski, aside from getting two absolute boneheaded unnecessary roughness calls after the whistle, has the chance to make a lot of plays in this game, tackles near or behind the line of scrimmage, and he just doesn't. And it's been all year with him of just missing these tackles. And I think that's what you saw when you go back and you rewatch the game or you pop on the film. It's, there's guys in position to make plays, but they just don't. Like the end of the game, that last play, Kyler Baugh runs past the quarterback.
Yep.
And he's been good. You know what I mean? It's just had to be aggravating for Joe Rossi because it's like, what in the world are you supposed to do?
Go take another head coaching job, probably.
But this is a pretty big spot on your resume, I'd say, because at the end of the day, it does fall on the coaches, and the people who evaluate these hires from the outside aren't really going to look at much besides, productivity and wins and losses. Like they'll see this. Oh, what happened in this game? You guys gave up 27 unanswered points in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Yeah, and it's a really nuanced, explanation that doesn't get you anywhere if you're Joe Rossi. To say, yeah, I called the game as well as I could, and just fucking everything went wrong.
So I've been really enjoying this website called GameOnPaper.com. Gives you some great advanced stats for Power 5 teams and matchups and stuff like that. And defensively, their stop rate was 52%. Pretty good.
That's all right.
And 23% of the plays of those, they were on the field for 82 plays, and they had 23%, 19 havoc plays. So like plays where they disrupt the offense in some way. I mean, they like that's what I'm saying of like they are around the ball. They are, they have opportunities, but they're just in key moments, they're not executing, or somebody's looking in the backfield, or Tyler Nubin is getting, is pressing a little bit, trying to make a big play, and jumps the wrong route, and touchdowns on the other side.
And I mean, there's an argument to be made that that's stuff that falls on coaching as well.
Sure.
And it, to an
Absolutely.
extent, it does. But like, the coaches can't go out there and make the play for you.
No.
They can't. Well, Joe Rossi can't go out there and put the quarterback on the ground for his guys. They got to go out there and do it.
Yeah, I don't.
And he can't say, my scheme was right and they didn't execute. because then it looks bad.
Absolutely. I guess the point I'm more trying to make is that it's game after it's these tackling issues, I think. And it's not like they're teaching them not to tackle, but like our linebacker core before this, right? Like before this year, they were always very sure tackling, and the games where we weren't good are the games where our linebackers don't tackle well, right? 2020 Maryland, the Bowling Green game, just way too many missed tackles at the second level. And that's where they're getting killed. So I've got some fun advanced stats for you guys here, because I think we know the tail of the tape this game was explosiveness, right? So without explosive plays, if you remove those from the game, Northwestern's EPA per play was negative 14.5. That's without explosive plays. And the Gophers was 2.75. With explosive plays, it was 0.12. For Northwestern, with it was 0.22. That's wild, right? And if you look, this is, I think, the most damning stat, and we can start getting into PJ here. EPA without explosive plays, when passing, 2.34. When rushing, for the Gophers, that is, -5. Without explosive runs, you are -5 in EPA per play when rushing the ball. And I think that is probably the most damning statistic of this entire game, because it just tells you exactly what happened. They kept running the ball, and doing nothing with it. And then Northwestern runs a total of 82 plays from scrimmage. The Gophers run 61. They ran 21 more plays than the Gophers did. Right? That's like, what, 2, almost 3 drives.
Yeah, that's what, 10 more first downs, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Plays per drive, 5.9 for the Gophers, 8.0 for Northwestern. So, I don't know. A lot of these advanced stats I find very interesting personally. To me, I think the offense was much more efficient, and I think if you look at the numbers, that's what it tells you. But I think this stuff with and without explosive plays, it's just, this is why Joe Rossi has his defense built the way it is, right?
Yep.
And you see what happens when you give him up. You lose. And you lose quickly. And I think my biggest gripe with PJ for this game is that it feels like he kind of doesn't allow for a scenario in which the defense has a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, they've become so dependent on Joe Rossi giving up like 17 points a game, you know, that I think it like really is like PJ really has used it as a crutch at this point, because at some point you think they go, okay, well, the passing game has been efficient. Let's open it back up, because it was like we come out for the second half. It's pass, pass, pass. It's, we throw 3 straight passes and it's like 3 incompletions, and then we punt, and then you go run, pass the rest of the game. Why? Why are we still doing this?
It's just beyond frustrating. I'm so angry about the way all of this went down.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the same shit. You know what I mean? It's like inside zone left, inside zone right, 3rd and 6 plus, Ethan, please do something. And then every throw that Ethan has in the second half is like, well, gotta have this one, And we've talked about it for 3 games now, about how how much and how much better did he look when the offense kind of was going through him? You know what I mean?
I mean, you already said it. He went 9 for 9 in the first half or something like that.
2 touchdowns.
And then in the second half, he's 50%, 5 of 10. You know, when every throw's a gotta have it throw, he's not gonna perform at that same level. He's not gonna get comfortable. He's not gonna complete his passes.
Yeah. And, Daniel Jackson runs a 8-yard route on 3rd and 9. Brevin runs a 4.5-yard route on 3rd and 5,
And that's going to happen when you don't pass enough. Because if I'm a receiver at this point, I'm sitting here pissed because I still don't think we have a receiver with 100 yards
in a game.
Yeah,
we don't.
Yep.
I don't know.
So it's like, sure, we got him. We got him in the end zone now, right? But can we? If I'm a receiver, I want the yards as well as the touchdowns.
Sure.
Well, I just want to be trusted with the ball, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
And to go back to these advanced stats, EPA per dropback 0.36 and yards per dropback 10.19. And you just stop doing it. Like Ethan should have approached 30 attempts in this game. Like he should have
that
had
number
a
looks
gaudy
slightly
stat
worse if he those numbers could look worse if he throws a little more, but how much worse? How much do we care?
But they look like that after we just said an iffy second half from him where every throw has got to have it and he was 50%, and there's still 10 yards per dropback at the end of the day, right? Like, and you just completely gave up on that. And at this point, like, it is PJ. Like, PJ, hi, I'm the problem, it's me, right? Like, different coordinator than the Bowling Green game, right? So you can't blame the coordinator here. Different play caller, can't blame the play caller. The common denominator here is him. When he gets up by 2+ scores, all he wants to do is sit on the ball and not lose. And I think in year 7 of this program, it is completely unacceptable to still approach the game that way. Because now you've got your guys. Now you've got this team exactly the way you want it to, and you still just don't go for the throat.
This isn't Jerry Kill's football team. Because that was the Jerry Kill approach. We're gonna go get 3 yards of play all game long, and we're gonna make you beat us without having the ball.
And that was his approach at Western, and it's a fine approach for when you are beating a team that is better than you. Right? Like if you're up 21 rip on like Alabama or something, and you just decide to run the ball and not let your young quarterback put the ball up for grabs, sure, I totally get that. But this Northwestern team is not that. You are better than this team, but you just don't assert your will over them at all when you have the lead. I just don't get it.
It wouldn't surprise me if he still is running this offense the same way he is at the end of the year, because I think that it needs to be a conversation of his job if it's still going to end up in games like this throughout the end of this year. Like this is like you said, year 7. There's higher expectations for this program, right? He says he wants to come here and he wants to win a championship. Well, if he could win a championship running the same offense he wants to run right now, great. But when it doesn't work, you don't stick with it.
And it hasn't worked.
And it hasn't worked. So you sit there and you use his own words against you and say, change your best. Are you going to adapt the game?
Exactly. And he spent all of last week with, talking about the mistakes they made against the Carolina team when he was like, how many times, they just had to touch the stove, right? They had to touch the stove and now they've touched the stove. He loved that analogy last week. Well, guess what? You touched the stove again this week, PJ. You went and did it. What are you going to do, right? Like he literally talked about his players doing this last week and he's now doing it this week. When will it change? Like it's just really, really frustrating.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that it is changing and it's getting worse.
I wouldn't go that far, personally.
Yeah. I worry that he's just so risk averse.
Well, he is.
That he's gonna settle for 7-6, 8-5 every year.
I mean,
And
that's pretty dang good for this program. Like
yeah, but
and the fact that people want more, I think, speaks to the success that he has had. But I think what Griffin said alludes more to what's the ceiling here if you're going to be like this, right? I think that's kind of the point Griffin was touching on is you are limiting your ceiling by the way.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying is that the ceiling is 7-8 wins. We could get 7
or 8. They've had 9 wins the last two years, so the ceiling is not 7 or
8. This year it's probably
the ceiling's 11 because that's how many they had in 2019, which is only 4 years ago.
But like, you get a team like you get Michigan and Ohio State on the schedule.
Yeah, you're not winning anything like this. Yeah,
you're not gonna beat teams playing like that. The ceiling this season is just not as high as it was, as it could be.
Yeah, I think
you have the talent to have that higher ceiling. But
yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not getting past that 7 or 8 win mark.
You're not winning any meaningful games like this.
And you get the big winning. You get 4 huge games for us.
Oh yeah,
just absolutely huge.
Griff, go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay, I just saw you come off mute.
Oh, I'm gonna come off mute.
Yes, here we go.
So I said this in my notes, and I don't remember if I said it on the podcast last week when I had to hop off while I was in Japan. But this was supposed to be, in my mind, a get right game. The game where you fix your ish, call it done, you move on. That was not the case.
They did that for one half.
Yeah. But this was a bad team who is going through internal turmoil. Like, they just fired Pat Fitzgerald, who we heard PJ said he respected Pat Fitzgerald for what he built at Northwestern. Over the summer, right? He got fired. They're on an interim head coach, which is probably not going to be retained after the 2023 season. But he could. We'll see.
Maybe if he wins a few more games.
True. But this was the kind of game where PJ shouldn't have, like as we said, shouldn't have done PJ ball at all.
Mm-hmm.
This was a team where you're supposed to walk in Evanston, get your shit done, walk out, we're on to the next game. And I don't know if this is a Midwest Minnesota sports or something, but my relatives always, and I bitch about it, we always play to the level of our competition. And we kind of did in that fourth quarter. Or that second half. First half we did not, but second half we did. And this team is better. Even my coworker who said like, oh, he was worried about playing Minnesota for week 1 because this was we have a very established team. We got veterans on this team. We have a talented tight end, talented receiver core. We now have DT in the running back room to be our RB1, and like, we're blowing it.
Yeah.
And I'm just pissed. This team is better than they should be. They should be handling their business as normal, but they did not. And now my prediction,
what they're showing.
And now my predictions for us going 10-2 is now going down the drain. And I'm going. You made happy Jason PJ into a very. I'm hurt.
Yeah, I'm okay. They just need to run the table, and I'm fine.
Yeah. But my rant is over. But
prediction was this year, but Northwestern throws it all off kilter.
Yeah, that's a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Well, let's talk about the upcoming battle. And I'll start it with another interesting advanced stat for you guys. So, in EPA per play margin, Minnesota currently 94th in FBS with .087, and that is the EPA margin a weighted average of offensive and defensive EPA. That's all it is. It's just a weighted average of offense and defensive EPA leans towards the offense. This is CFB Graphs at StatsAwar on Twitter. And the Louisiana Lafayette, right?
Yes.
Ragin Cajuns are
Ragin
22nd
Cajuns.
in FBS in EPA per play margin. So, interesting note there.
And to add more on top of that, this will be our homecoming game at Huntington Bank Stadium. It will air on the Big Ten Network at 11 a.m. kickoff. And the betting odds right now, the line is Minnesota -11. Over under is at 48.5 for this game. And weather looks good. So Soup, you're gonna have a good time out there. It's gonna be warm and cool.
Can't wait.
But where do you want to start with this game coming up? We're coming off a 2-game loss. I can't talk because my mind. We're on a 2-game losing streak.
It's tough out here.
And we're going into a game where, in terms of like stats wise, like in terms of quarterback play and stuff like that, from what I'm seeing stats, like just looking at just numbers between offense and defense, the Gophers don't look too hot overall in terms of yards allowed on defense and then yards per play on the offense. But then like I see our teams being very similar between the Ragin' Cajuns and the Gophers. But other than that, I really have no clue what to expect. And with how the Gophers have been playing, I was expecting this kind of betting odds from Vegas. If the Gophers have done their business last week, I think this would have been maybe like a -20 kind of game. But I don't know.
I'd say I think you'd get to like 14, maybe 16. Another field goal. We're just not a team who wants to score. So, for whatever reason, which is going to be a problem.
Like to sit on the ball.
Which is going to be a problem this weekend because Ragin' Cajuns, they put up points.
Yes, they do.
They will be putting points on the scoreboard. So I hope we do. They've scored 13 they've scored no less than 38 points.
Which is interesting because we both run a fairly balanced offense. We're usually pretty consistent in the run and the pass on both sides, but they actually convert that into points.
Yep, and they're also fairly explosive through the air. Less, much more so than we are, but explosive passing plays is really what leads to points nowadays, specifically, right? So that's why their EPA margin is so good, top 25 in FBS. So, I think that matters, right?
I think it especially matters after these last couple weeks. It's big plays in our secondary.
Yep, and that is the weakness. Though we did get that transfer waiver approved from the NCAA, so that's nice. We have a kid coming home who had his transfer waiver approved. Craig McDonald coming from Auburn. It's a defensive back, so some depth there doesn't hurt, right?
Never.
And so, just looking at them, both their quarterbacks are pretty solid. 7 yards an attempt, 8 yards an attempt. Both have good QBR. They've 7-3. It looks like an 8-3 touchdown interception ratio combined, which is not the worst. And so, otherwise it's just a bunch of explosiveness from them. So yeah, that's very, very concerning. I don't know. I'm just they total offense 479.3 yards a game. Woof. That's a lot of yards. But they give up over 300 yards a game on defense. So you're gonna have to actually score. So I think, best case scenario is this is an opportunity for PJ to finally just go, I'm not doing this anymore, right?
Agreed. Like, I
Yeah.
think this is the kind of game where you don't want to be PJ Ball. Like, this
You
is a
get up,
game.
you stay up.
Yes. Like, you get in
Oh.
there, you let Ethan sling it for 4 quarters instead of a first half. Also,
this is the game where you have to change what PJ Ball is. You have to look at that last game and say, I never want to be embarrassed like that again. And, go put up some points.
mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I don't know. I want so just play to win the game, right? Play to win. Don't play to not lose. Stop that.
Yeah, I mean, play when because now we know if we have a 3-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter,
Not safe.
that's not safe at all. Like, if you are able to still keep a balanced offense, milk the clock where you're going down the field, but get points. I know you don't want to blow someone out and then look like it's not classy. It doesn't matter at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not known for blowing people out. So if we start blowing people out by 4 or 5 possessions, we did it because we had to. Because we have liability issues at certain positions.
Totally. And even last game, they were 70% in the red zone. The 91st percentile is red zone success rate. So when they did get there, it has gotten a lot better. Good. I'm glad we checked that box. But now I think it's much more about like a philosophy of trying to get there, right? Because it doesn't feel like once they get up that they're trying to get back into scoring. It just feels like, how long can we make this take?
Absolutely.
So that's what I really want to see is I think they've did a good job of converting last game, but I just think it's go get more. Why stop?
Yep.
And then looking on the other side of the ball too, on defense, I'm expecting this game where the young guys like Baranowski and some others to improve. Again, like Sue, I think you mentioned it earlier. Baranowski had like what 2 boneheaded unnecessary
late
roughness.
hit penalties. Yeah.
Yeah. So I expect that on the defensive side to be cleaned up and obviously tackling to be better than what we saw last game.
Cody Lindenberg, please.
Yes. And also hope for the return of Cody Lindenberg, number 45 on the defense there. But then I'm also thinking like, Wyatt, your boys, special teams, if we have a situation again where like if Mark Crawford punts and it has the
Listen,
chance to
I
be
do
in
not claim Quentin Redding. I do not claim him.
I know, but if he's in the doghouse right now.
What, like
Yeah,
returning?
he's definitely the
Yeah, if he
put him out there to return the football.
yeah,
Sean
either
Tyler.
return it
He has three career. Doesn't he have like 3 kick return touchdowns on his career?
Yeah, Western Michigan. Mm-hmm. No, but for me, if there's a situation where that ball is landing, can land on the 1, and you're in that end zone, at least like keep it out of the end zone. Something, not stupid mistakes like that.
I guess for now we need a 5-yard rule for our special teams now, where I'm going to much rather have you touch a ball at the 6 than risk at the 1. Just stay away from the end zone.
Yeah, catch it. Put your heels on the 5.
Heels on the 5. You're going to have amazing awareness. Maybe you'll even beat the ball to a spot. Don't go in the end zone. Don't go near it. Don't touch it. I'll risk 4 instead of losing 20.
I don't know. I just would really like to. Just put your foot on the gas. Get 45. Do it. Just do it. Like,
just do it.
This isn't the NFL where you kneel the football to show some respect. It's college where every point can matter.
Even then, Miami just hung 70 on the Broncos.
Miami hung 70 on the Broncos and then took a knee.
Yep.
Yeah, which is somehow even more disrespectful.
It's insane. And then Sean Payton put his foot on the gas and ran a running play.
Love it.
But we digress. Let's move on then to predictions. I'm going to I'll start off first, and then we'll go Soup, Griffin, and lastly Wyatt. I am saying we will win 31-17. I don't know why, even though as much as we want PJ to change his best, but I still go think there's going to be an inkling of PJ ball in there, and then something happens, and this is going to be a little closer than we think it is, and then we get a late touchdown in the fourth quarter. But yeah, 31-17 for me. Soup?
Give me 38-10 Gophers.
What?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm in. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Griffin?
I think they'll. Sorry, I'm just saying. I think they'll really, really go after it, and I think we'll see a bounce back game from Joe Rossi at the very least. I'm expecting 7 of those points to be a defensive touchdown.
Well, I really do not know what to think after last week. As much as I want to be as optimistic as you, Soup, I feel he's too stubborn. He's too stubborn. He's not going to want to go sway too far from his norm. He thinks he can still win 9 out of every 10 games playing his style of ball. I still think we're going to win, but I'm only going to do a nice old 38-31.
Track meet.
I mean, at this point, I don't expect our defense to ever hold any opponent to less than 20 points for the rest of the season.
That's
like
fair.
this isn't like I think Joe Rossi is bad. It's because we've already established that he's doing fine. His schemes are fine. It's the players that need to make plays. And I don't think that's one thing that our defense is going to do in a week span. So maybe if they were to fix it down the line towards the end of the season, we played them, sure, maybe I'd be a little bit more generous. But at this point, I'm a pessimist to an extent. So we're going with the track meet, the shootout. We're going to have 70-yard bombs by both teams. It's just that it's going to be that kind of day.
that's a lot of points being thrown around. Oh my God, boys.
Did we really expect Northwestern to put up 30 and then their quarterback throw for almost 400 yards? No, so nothing's going to surprise me anymore. Do I sound mad?
No.
No, okay,
You don't sound
good.
mad enough. I don't pick the Gophers against the spread, and I don't pick the Gophers over. Just because prove me wrong on both, and then I'll start doing it. So we're gonna say the Gophers can win this one, and I'll have them winning this one, but it's gonna be 27-21.
Seems fine.
All right. Let's just end it here because
The pain has begun.
this has begun. The pain's been lingering. It exudes
Let's
further.
end this podcast.
So, everyone, thank you so much for listening and viewing our pain and suffering and rants of this Golden Gopher football team. Next up, when we return, it will be episode 69. We hope it will be extra special to hit that milestone. Or an extra negative. That could be the case. But when we return, we'll be previewing Michigan for the Little Brown Jug Rivalry Trophy, and then recap Louisiana Lafayette Ragin Cajuns. But have a great weekend coming up as the Gophers play for homecoming. If you're going to the game, have a blast, and we'll see you guys next week. But other than that, I'm one of your hosts, Jason O, along with
Soup,
Griffin,
and I'm Wyatt.
and we'll see you guys next time.